Why is there healing available in the Garden of Eden before the fall? Because I just showed you Genesis chapter 1. This is before sin. This is before destruction. This is before illness. This is before disease. Before any of that enters into the equation, God says, I've given you every seed-bearing plant for food, and I've given it to you for healing. Why would he do that? And I always thought, I know what some of you are thinking, I always thought, well, God was so smart, our Heavenly Father was so brilliant, that he knew that we're going to mess up. He knew that we're going to mess up. And that's why Jesus was slain before the foundation of the world. Like, he knew we're going to mess up. And so he put this in the garden so that when we messed up, like, it would already be there. And I thought, well, that sounds good. Like, that's a good enough reason for me. Yeah, he knew. Here's the only problem with the he knew in advance argument, though I do think that he knew in advance. Obviously, he did. When you look into heaven, you see some interesting things in heaven. Okay, so Ezekiel's one of the prophets that saw heaven, right? So you have several guys that saw heaven before it was time and wrote about it. Probably other people saw it, but John the Apostle, Jesus' kind of guy that he entrusted to keep his mom, that went to the Isle of Patmos and wrote the book of Revelation. In Revelation, sees heaven. Isaiah, in Isaiah chapter 6, sees the Lord high and lifted up, and the robe and the train fills the temple. He saw heaven. And we know that among other people, Jesus, at the Transfiguration, probably stepped into heaven with Elijah and Moses, so Peter might have seen heaven. We also know that Ezekiel saw heaven, right? Okay, and so in Ezekiel 47:12, he actually sees heaven, and he sees the tree of life right there inside of heaven. And I want you to notice this right here. Fruit trees of all kinds will grow on both banks of the river. Their fruit will serve for food, and their leaves for healing. Here's what some translations actually say, okay? The leaves of that tree are for the okla, for the food and for the healing of the nations in heaven. And so you look at it and you go, okay, like major scratching my head on this, thinking, we're designed to be well, right? God designed you, created you to be healthy, to be whole, to have a spirit that's alive, a soul and a mind that taps into him and hears him and funnels out the chaos of the world and aligns perfectly with what he says. You have the mind of Christ. And you're designed to have a body that is strong, that can do the calling that he has, that is amazing and is incredible for every single one of you. And those things all fit together, right? Why was healing available in the Garden of Eden before sin, before chaos, for destruction? Why was healing available in heaven after all of those things are taken care of? And here's kind of part of what I get with it, and maybe we'll answer the question in the next 5 minutes, okay? One pastor says this, he says, God's perfect will is not to heal you. His perfect will is that you would be so incredibly well that you would never get sick. Now, you see that? Maybe this taps into why there's healing in the garden. Maybe it taps into why at the end of the story, there's healing in heaven. Maybe in the middle of the story, wherever we're at, like some of you think we're like getting close to heaven. Some of you think, well, there's still a long time. Whatever. We could agree that like right now it's better if we're well. And maybe right now his perfect will is that we are so well that you actually don't need the miracle. And when you do, the kingdom is near and it breaks in. But when you don't, like you're so well that it's just kind of, you're just kind of cruising through doing your thing.